This is round number 7 of the NTS V8 Supercar Championship. The SuperSeries coming to you from Sebring in Florida. Zach Cabin, Chris Kisby from the lockdown capital of Australia, from Queensland tonight, as we welcome you to our coverage on SimShed Broadcasting of the Sebring International 150. A decisive, critical point of this championship. A sunset race ahead of us here from Sebring International Raceway. A long circuit, more synonymous, of course, with sports car racing. And Chris Kisby, given what we've seen in the championship thus far, a long track is what's been missing, but tonight we make up for that. Nearly 6 kilometres of heaven here in Sebring. And, of course, we should point out right off the top, we're with you a little bit earlier tonight because the qualifying session, instead of being its usual 40 minutes, is only 30 minutes tonight. So, therefore, we are with you from the earlier time of about 25 past 8. But that means that we've got a little bit of extra time up our sleeves at the back end of the broadcast to talk to the drivers post-race. Kisby, good evening to you. Here we go again.
Yeah, Zach, good evening to you. Good evening, JP, and to all our viewers from all over the state. Yeah, what a place to fly into on a Monday night. And I can see you all shaking your heads there, guys. Why come from Tasmania to sunny Queensland? So I was driving Sebring on Saturday night and getting just ready to do the 3 hour, and I got an emergency phone call to come up and help my dad. So I was up here as soon as I possibly could after that. And so I join you up in this lockdown state, mate.
Yeah, and I don't envy you in the slightest, of course, but you are a good son. There's no doubt about that. Hey, 4 minutes to go in qualifying, as I say. A little bit tight for time off the top tonight because the fact of the matter is that we are starting the race earlier than we usually would. So let's have a look at some facts and stats that matter here. There's the race stats for tonight, and we'll get to the championship points in just a moment. iRacing tells us it's 5.95 kilometres. Wikipedia tells me it's 6.02, and there's a track map that I've loaded off Wikipedia that tells me it's 5.87. So I don't know exactly who to believe, but if you lock it down the middle there, 5.95 will do. 25 laps the journey. That'll put us a smidgen under 150 Ks there at 149. So it's the only time this year where you're going to get less than what you're paying for, ladies and gentlemen. And don't blame me. 44-litre fuel restriction, 2 pit stops, 4.4 litres per lap fuel burn. So that makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? 10-lap stints and then a 5-lap sprint to get us home. 2 sets tyre limit here as well. So the set they start on and then a set to take on later in the race, whether they take it at lap 10 or lap 20 or somewhere in between, because 15 will be that critical lap. And that will open up some strategy play. You've got to take into consideration the potential for safety cars as well. That will be very interesting to see. And, of course, tyre strategy is a big component of last week's round on the boot at Watkins Glen as well. Server time has us on this very date, the 30th of March 2021, at 6:45 local time, which is 15 hours behind Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So we're essentially a little bit into the future. We've gone into 9:45 tomorrow morning for you, ladies and gentlemen. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. 24 air temp, 25 track temp, easterly winds at 9 kilometres an hour there for you. 40% fuel tank capacity on these cars. Pit lane speed 72 Ks an hour. A few other little things to consider here. Incident points kick in at 19x and then every 9x thereafter. I think that's all we really have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get stuck into qualifying. Lassif Leonage, the number one, the man to beat at the moment, 201.23, 201.44 for Cameron Veacock. And then up there in third, you might notice a couple of names creeping up the order, and good to see too. Sean McNamara, podium last week. Can he back it up tonight? He's third. Fourth place sits with Ash Davis, Rainer Costello, Cameron Jones, Michael Limasuri. Good to see him creeping up into the top 10. Robert Crisdale and Alex Court, and then Jacob Brewer, the top 10 at the moment. We're gearing up to go racing for you very shortly. Only a minute and a half left in qualifying. Gives us a quick opportunity to have a look and rip and tear through the championship points if we can, JP. Let's have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. The championship standings as we get ready for the Sebring International 150. Lassif Leonage has a 9-point lead in this championship. Shocker for Lassif last week. Hopefully he'll bounce back tonight. Qualifying's an indication that he will. 9-point lead over Cameron Veacock. Rainer Costello is only 56 behind the championship leader now, and then he has 7 points clear of Cameron Jones. 2 points then back to Alex Court. So 65 points separates the top 5. Nice and tight at the pointy end of town. Then a big gap back. 40 points, in fact, to Blake Urquhart, Ben Morris, Chris Ireland, then Alan Dawson and Dean Powell make up the top 10. Over the page. Caldwell, Newell, Davis, Brewer, Schultz, Crisdale, McCune, Schultz, Vella, and Barnes. I'll let you keep looking at that, ladies and gentlemen, as JP scrolls through it there. Chris, we've got to fly because we're not too far off this race getting underway. Lasif looks to be bouncing back. Got to keep an eye out on Cameron Veacock as well. Sean McNamara is due for a win. Be interesting to see what Ash Davis brings to the table. Rainer Costello is always one to watch as well. Plenty of excitement in that top 5, and you can't forget about Cameron Jones in 6th either.
That's correct, Zach. Look at that, the same old players there up the top there again. A couple of new names, McMurray and Davis up there, mixing it with them again. So it'll be interesting to see how they can split the top 3 up in that race championship. So I'm looking forward to a really exciting race tonight.
Indeed. Here's an opportunity for Cameron Veacock to try and snatch pole position away from Lasif Leonage. No, not 1/10 of a second. He closed the gap. To within 1/10 of a second. A 2:01.33 for Cameron Veacock. Lasif Leonage is parked to the side. Forget about it. Cameron Veacock, did he get back to the line before the clock struck 0? I'm not sure. So that will be interesting. He might be having one more crack at this. Dean Powell's there as well. David Kirby's on a number at the moment too. Keep an eye out on the 307. So Leonage, Veacock, McNamara, Davis, Costello, Jones, Lee Masuria, Crisdale, Corton, Brewer, the top 10 at the moment. Sebring, Chris Kisby, not everyone's cup of tea. Let's be perfectly honest. We know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but a challenging race course all the same. And we tend to see this in America, that airports are turned into good racetracks. Just look at Portland, for instance.
Exactly. I mean, I quite enjoy the track. I think it's quite good. Very slippy in some places. You go through the last carousel right at the end there. You've got to watch your throttle control as you come around it. Turn 1, the left-hander. You've got to get yourself down and set up for that, and then going through the chicane, and then you got that little bit of a straight where you can pick up again. But one of my most difficult ones is getting the gears down and braking right for the sort of the chicane or the right hander, where if you get it right, you can do it in second, but most of the time you've got to get down to first. So a challenging track.
There will be, as I've said before, a couple of tricky, dicky for little lack of better words, corners here. We'll talk you through them as the night goes on. There are parts of this circuit where the track tends to cut back on itself. As you can see, there are a couple of tricky little chicane tight sections that break up what is otherwise a fast and flowing racetrack. And we're looking forward to going racing here very, very shortly. I think it's fair to say that Lasif Leonage has got pole position here. He's done it by a 10th of a second from Cameron Veacock. Rainer Costello and Sean McNamara, they're next best with Ash Davis from 5th. Looking down the order, great to see Michael Lee Masuria on pace, finally. Looking further down outside the top 15, couple of names here that we should have a look for. Ben Morris well down the order, buried in 16th. Chris Ireland down in 22nd. Wade Michael, 23rd. But the exciting thing for me, Chris Kisby, as we have a look, Craig Roffey, a name that's familiar to both of us, in 29th. There are 32 cars that have set a time here tonight. The only one that hasn't is Jim Delios. So if we do get him on the grid, that'll be 33. So that's a very nice turnout for what is the 7th round of the season.
It is. So as I said, I'm really looking forward to this. It's been following the season and with you in the commentary box here. It's been really exciting, really great racing to watch. And it was just, we all have one, maybe two bad races, but the good drivers come back really quick.
Yep, it's always good to spend a Tuesday night in the office with you. I'm just sad for your sake that you had to come back to the 18th century to do it this time round. Won the clock back run on there. Thank Christ this is the last week of that too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, and this is important to note for our New South Wales, Victorian, Tasmanian and ACT viewers, next week, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So an hour earlier for you, but the same time for us here in Queensland, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time next week. All these guys are looking forward to an earlier night next Tuesday night at 9:30 finish. Screams better than 10:30 night. Yeah, exactly. Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 Super Series Sebring International 150. The front row, Lassif Leonage and Cameron Veacock. Second row, Rona Costello and Sean McNamara. Third row, Ash Davis and Cameron Jones. Fourth row, Michael E. Masuria and Robert Christo. What about that? Just half a tenth of a second separating the top 9, with Alex Court rounding out that 9 and Jacob Brewer alongside him on the 5th row. Simon Vella and Blake Urquhart from row number 6. Row 7, Alan Dawson and Lindsay Hobbs. Row 8, David Kirby and Ben Morris. Row 9, Simon Chadwick and Peter Crossingham. Row 10, Darren Caldwell and Dean Powell. Row 11, Brian Cooper and Chris Island. Row 12, Wade Michael and Tim Mulford. Row 13, Scott McKeon and Craig Schultz. Row 14, Chris Barnes and Riley Simons. Row 15, Craig Groffey and Daniel Schultz. Row 16, Steve Vella and Sam Katagazinas. Row 16, Jim Delios. Getting set for start. The revs rise, the cars roar. Sebring International Raceway in Florida for round 7 of the championship. And they get underway very, very quickly here. Brilliant start from Rainer Costello up on the inside. Crash at the back. Costello's looking to take the lead to turn 1. Oh, what a start from Rainer Costello. But Veacock sweeps around the outside. Good start from Ash Davis and John McNamara. Cameron Jones in 5th. Lassif Leonage has been swamped and he's gone back to 6th. And as we say that, Cameron Jones gets up on the inside of McNamara. He goes up into 5th. Down 4th as well as McNamara. Goes back to 5th. Leonage is 6th. They make their way through for the first time. Crazy start in Sebring, but thankfully everyone, with the exception of a couple at the back, everyone at the pointy end of town, away okay. McNamara down there on the inside of Jones to get the job done. That's one of those dicky little corners I was talking about. That section at the back of the circuit there, it cuts back on itself. They get through there okay. And they clear out, but Rainer Costello from 3rd to 1st has taken the early lead away from Cameron Veacock. McNamara under serious pressure there at the moment. Jones and Davis and Leonage and Christoph for company. And eventually they'll sort themselves out. But right now it's on for young and old. It's like the first 5 laps at Talladega. And that is a brilliant start. Leonage now begins the fight back through the field. Back to 5th spot. Got up on the inside there of Ash Davis. Next target, Cameron Jones. Oh, kiss me. I need a breath. That's been a hectic start at Sebring.
It certainly has.
All right. Simsnap.com. iRacing photography replay to show you the move from Rainer Costello on Cameron Veacock to go to the lead here. Oh, talk about
the inside.
Youthful exuberance. What about that?
Nice.
And happy to run the gauntlet early, Kisby.
Oh, look. There's no way I could go that late on the brakes. I'd be leaving the brown stone in the mark. But, that was absolutely great. And I've watched this kid right the way through, and I've backed him. So I'm backing him again tonight. But, Sebring, you've got to find the balance between speed for the long straight at the back there and a couple of straights, and the actual stability of the car going around the corners. As you said, there's some tricky little corners, little chicanes, S-bends, and you've really got to get. And this is one here, the last first corner. If you don't get that right, you're either into the fence on the left, or you're skidding straight out into the fence on the right-hand side. Up through a little chicane, a little S-bends more than a chicane. Nice. Look, there you go. Exactly, just on cue. Riley Simmons.
And Lindsay Hobbs.
You've got a nice little turn here that leads into a straight. Now, you pick your marker here, and you've actually got to get onto the brakes really hard to get down to your first and second gear to get around this little chicane S-bend. And it can...
Oh, car off in the background! Did you see that? It looked like a car was going up and over onto its lid. I'm sure I saw a car going up and over. I'm sure we'll see it on a replay in a moment. My goodness gracious me, what a moment.
I reckon Sim Snaps will pick this up.
Unbelievable. One of the Schultzes. Let's have a look. Unbelievable carnage here on the opening 2 laps. And great excitement and enthusiasm as well. Have a look at this. Whoa! Bang!
There we go. Somebody's hit the grass, lost control, and then taken out the innocent bystander on the corner.
Now, will that trigger a safety car? Not if we can help it. It's the word coming through my earpiece at the moment. Craig Schultz continues on. I'll be interested to see what race control make of that. They won't view that too favourably, I wouldn't think, Kisby.
No, I wouldn't be, because it depends on what happened just before that car. I'm pretty sure it looked like it hit the grass. Once it's lost, it's lost. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the
while we've been looking at that. That's all right, mate. I'll press on here. Let's while we've been away, Cameron Jones has slipped back to 7th position, and we're not 100% sure why. What we can tell you at the moment, Daniel Schultz has been in pit lane already. So too Peter Crossingham, Scott McCune, and Chris Ireland started there. So he's already a lap down. Chris Barnes in the pit lane now as well. So far, we've had 5 cars running into some sort of trouble here in the early stages. 201.2, the fastest lap of the race for Cameron Veacock. Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, Sean McNamara, Lassif Leonage and Ash Davis, the top 5. Then Chrisdale, Jones, Court, Vella and Urquhart, the top 10. Leonage continues to fight back up in 4th. Rainer Costello's gap to the front, to the rest of the pack, is about 0.8 of a second. Not enough to get comfortable and complacent at this point in time. It is only lap 3. It's expected to be about a 50-minute race here, maybe a little bit more once you include pit stops and a few other factors, whether we get a safety car or not as well, because I'm actually really surprised the rollover didn't trigger one. But obviously, whatever the case was, they've let this race continue rolling. Lassif Leonage there in 4th at this point in time. Can he find his way back to the front after starting there? It was an uncharacteristic start from Leonage. The fact that he just dropped, he went nowhere. As the field makes its way down the back straight to bring themselves around to turn 17. That long triple apex right-hander. That'll bring them back onto the main straight.
Maybe just saying, go for it, boys, and I'll catch you at the end of the race.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No, that's
Would not be the first time. Have a look at that side-by-side action there as well. So, McNamara and Leonage fighting over the same piece of real estate. So too Davis, Jones and Chrisdale down the inside. Chrisdale to 6th. Jones up on the outside remains 7th. But he's looking to fight back on the run to turn 3. Can't do it just yet. So Chrisdale holds 6. Jones, Court, Vella and Urquhart make up the top 10. Interesting opening stages here in Sebring. Hope you're enjoying our coverage. Live across the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, Facebook, YouTube. And that's not just on the SimShed broadcasting page. It's also on Real Sim Racing Australasia. Great to have your company on a Tuesday night. Our last edition in the daylight saving window. Car off and around. It's Ash Davis. Ash Davis has gone round. You saw that to the right. He's shot there. Ash Davis has had a big moment. He's dropped down to 8th, caught up to 7th. Let's have a look at this on replay. Chris Kisby.
Yeah, he's coming. Overcooked the brakes there, and they couldn't get it turned by himself. I'm struggling with that around Bathurst at the moment. So, and I did struggle with a bit when I was doing practice Sebring. But once you get it,
I think that was turn 7, was it not?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. But it can be tricky, and you've got to get it right. That's what makes the great drivers. They just get it right lap after lap after lap after lap, where I may get it right for 4 laps, but then 2 laps, I'll stuff up. And that's what makes the good drivers from the mediocre drivers.
Same in commentary, mate. Don't worry about that. Hey, lap 4 of 25. Simon Chadwick, we're watching him at the moment in 12th, following Brian Cooper at the moment. Nothing in this, the battle for 12th and 11th position out there right now. So 4 laps in the books rather for Rainer Costello. He continues on. These guys are coming to the end of their 4th lap. We're about 8 and a bit minutes into this race. And look at this, Leonage and Court, my apologies, Court, Chrisdale and Jones. It's a bit hard. It's a bit easy to get them mixed up at the moment because there's an NTS car and an old decked-out Valvoline car at the front of the field as well. And this is the bottom half of the top 10. There's cars everywhere at the moment. It's a good problem to have. So Costello, Veacock, McNamara, Leonage, the top 4. We're watching the battle for 5th. We're on board with Alex Court at the moment. He's got, we were, Robert Crisdale ahead of him, Cameron Jones behind him. And Court now trying to get down on the inside of Crisdale and job done. Nice. Looks to take the entry of Cameron Jones in the 190 with him and does so. Crisdale's lost 2 positions in one corner there. Although technically it's 3 corners, it's only counted as 1. That's typical American racetracks for you, but we'll come back to that another time.
Yeah.
So Crisdale now under serious pressure from Ash Davis right there. Well, it is. It's the right-hander at the hairpin. Then it's the kink back left and the kink back right to take you down on the straight towards turn 8. Anyway, so Ash Davis, he sits there in 8th at the moment. Crisdale Jones caught ahead of him. Rianage is further up the right. Big mover so far. There are a couple of them.
Bring that up. Yeah, I was just about
Brian
to bring
Cooper's
that
up 10 spots from 21st to 11th, and Craig Roffey from 29th to 16th, if you don't mind. Steve Vella, Sam Catakazinas up 10 each as well, 21st, 22nd. So some big movers in the field early.
Oh, look at that name, Roffey, up 13 spots.
Wow.
The Roffey boys, I was just having a practice with with Tony and I can't remember which the other one, but there's so many of them. I was having a practice.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Practiced earlier, and they're great to race against. They really are.
Up and comers is the focus of Chris Kisby's week. That's tomorrow night, of course, for the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And in the meantime, we focus on what's going on here. Sean McNamara, Lassie Glenash, Alex Court is found away by Cameron Jones. So Jones relegated back to 6, back to where he started, but here he is coming back down on the inside, having another crack at Court right now. Jump down on the inside. Court will look to go with him, but no, he'll have to yield. He'll have no choice. And he needs to get back in and defend from Crisdale and Davis as well, because they're right there. Davis up around the outside of Crisdale. Not getting the job done just yet. Oh, it's on for young and old in Sebring. It's throwing up a cracker. And look at this. Simon Vella trying to launch onto the back of that freight train as well. So all of a sudden, a 4-car battle becomes a 5-car battle, and Jones is the man at the head of it.
What did we say? This was a 10-lap race, not a 25-lap race? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is a 25-lap race.
Correct. Yeah. It's not Super Sprint week. That was a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I thought. I just had to recheck and see whether we were on Super Sprints again, because the way they're going, they haven't settled into a pace yet. They're still trying to sort themselves out, find out where they're going to race it back until lap 20.
Well, it's only lap 6.
Finish it at the end. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Well, so what's interesting here, Kisby, is that there are a couple of different ways to play the strategy tonight. If you bank on no safety cars, you don't have to stretch these stints out to 10 laps. You can go 8 or 9 if you want to. You can go 5, 10, and 10. You can go 10, 10, and 5. You can go 8, 9, and 8. Or, actually, no, that's 27. No, that's 25. That's right. So 8, 9, and 8 would get you home as well. So there's a couple of different ways to play this tonight. It'll be interesting to see who jumps first. Whoa, sideways moment from Benny Morris. That'll cost him a lot of time. He gathered it up nicely. Good car control, but he's lost a ton of ground.
Good to keep it on the track there and not really wreck his car, but it just takes you so long to get that car up and moving, get your momentum back up, that you've lost any advantage that you gained, and you've given the guy the chance behind to catch you a little bit more, and then he starts to think, oh, geez, this guy's getting nervous, and he'll push you a little bit harder. Into the wall.
Car in the wall. Big one. Ash Davis is at a monster shunt. He's lost the back of the car in a big way.
Looks like he went around.
What has happened there? Right, let's have a look. Crisdale and Davis. Bang.
Yep.
Grass gone.
If you don't get down into that third and fourth, that third, in that last part of that corner, you can hit it the first part fourth, and then I find if I don't get down fast enough into third, you're drifting wide all the time. You're playing chase up. So you're chasing the car to get it around the corner rather than be in early and get on that right-hand line, be able to power out of that corner to get across into the straight.
All right, let's keep our eyes peeled on this for you, folks. David Kirby in 21st at the moment. He's in the thick of traffic as well. I mean, he's got Wade Michael and Sam Catakazinas right in front of him. He's got Steve Vella and Ash Davis right behind him now. Davis with the damaged car. Stop, go, penalty. 30 seconds, stop and hold. For 64 on 208 and 74. Multiple car contact for the 64 on lap 2. That's Daniel Schultz copping a drive-through A stop and hold for 30 seconds. Costly for Daniel Schultz, and he's already buried in the pack. He's going to drop a lap here.
Neither do I, but yeah. As we're just getting it in our ear that they don't mess around the viewers. I keep forgetting
race control.
You can't hear JP. Yeah, you can't hear JP. But race control doesn't mess around here, and it's similar with me. I'm firm but fair, and when I'm doing
that's
race
the way you got to be.
I try to be as consistent as I can. So if I give one person a penalty.
Robert Crisdale jumped in. Sorry, Kisby, I'm going to jump in there. Robert Crisdale is the first to jump. And that's exactly... Well, that is a little bit early for my liking. He's got 18 laps, so that's going to mean that he's going to have to stop 16, 17 to get home. He won't be able to do it in 7 laps since that'll trigger a 3-stopper. But he can stop now and still get home on a 2 9-lap strategy if he wants to play it that way, or a 10 and an 8.
But I'm going to have you as my race engineer, I tell you.
4.4 litre fuel burn a lap, Kisby. When it's a 44 litre tank, it actually makes the sums easy. I'm going to hope it's any other day of the week. Any other day of the week, don't sign me up. My maths is okay, but geez, yeah.
Mind you,
I wouldn't trust me.
I think it was last week when we were having a race and I was listening to you guys go around it. I did find it, while I was sitting there doing race commentary, I did find it a little bit helpful with you guys discussing what I should be doing.
Yeah, and it's also a bit of a hindrance as well. Didn't you end up off the circuit at one point? Lap 8 at 25. Rainer Costello's broken clear. 1.3 the margin over Cameron Veacock. Look at Lindsay Hobbs getting a big hurry up there from Billy Morris.
Right up underneath
in
the
the 43. Oh, Lindsay Hobbs gets the hurry up. You're right on board with him. Holden V4, the Mustang, right into the tail of the Holden there for you. How good's this on a Tuesday night? Remember, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time next week. We switch back. We start an hour earlier for those of you watching throughout New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, the ACT, and South Australia. Standard time for those of us here in Queensland. Yes, exactly. Here they come. Right out of 16. The run down towards 17 now. Morris all over the back of Hobbs. Cameron Veacock's in. Cameron Veacock is in. So Veacock pits from second. Costello, McNamara, Leonage continue on for an 8th lap. But again, Veacock playing a different strategy game. So too Cameron Jones. They're both on pit road. Oh, that was so close between Morris and Hobbs. Back onto the main straight. Another lap in the books and they're both in. They are both in. The end of lap 8. They are on pit road.
That's a little
now,
bit
what's
earlier
interesting
what you
for
would have
mine...
expected, wouldn't it?
A little bit. That's what I'm going to say though, Kisby. This is interesting for mine. Look at the times as far as what they spend in pit lane. 18.03 for Veacock, and it's a long transit down pit road as well.
Yep.
It's a slow, long pit road here in Sebring. So that'll earn us a little bit of extra time in as far as race time is concerned. As we watch Rainer Costello continue to do his thing at the front of the field. And it's been a scintillating start from him. A smooth, consistent, polished performance thus far. I mean, you can only hope he goes on with it for his sake. And it's a championship implications here because every race he can chip away at Leonage and those that are ahead of him, there are only 2 of them. But particularly Leonage because he's got the big buffer. The more he's going to be considered and talked about as a championship contender for the next 9 rounds or 10 rounds of the championship, rather.
Yes, that's correct. Because you'd be expecting McNamara, Leonage, Court, Bella, that top 5 to be waiting to see what Rainer does. And I bet it's as soon as you see Rainer go in, or they think they're going to get an advantage, they'll all follow him in, or they'll go in before, so that they can actually get, they can be the first ones to pit at the last stop. So
here he comes. Costello's in.
Yes. Fellows in, so
let's
you watch
see if they
follow.
Else. Yes, they do. 1, 2. McNamara, Leonage, all in. Does Court follow as well, or does Court go on? I haven't seen Court come in yet. Here he comes. Here he comes. Yes, he does. So we've got the top 4 in the lane, and I tell you what, he almost collected the witch's hat on the way through. Vella goes in as well. To the top 5 on pit road. Chadwick comes in as well. This is Veacock. This is the man that's already pitted. He sits 14th. Where is he going to slice into the picture? at the end of the first round of pit stops here. Who's taking tyres now? Who's taking just fuel? Let's wait and see. A lot to try and unravel here in Florida at the moment. Pit lane so busy.
19.8.
Rainer Costello. The undercut working so far for Veacock. He's going to get as far as second. There goes Costello up around the outside. Veacock can't do anything about the youngster. Rainer continues to lead at Sebring. Magnificent stuff. Right 10, Costello, Veacock, McNamara, Leonage, Vella, Crisdale, Jones, Court, Vella, and Urquhart the top 10 as the field continues to sort itself out.
Well, but look at this. You've got Costello, 1985. You've got McNamara, 1928. You've got Leonage, 1935. But you've got Cameron Veacock. He only had an 1803. So did he take enough fuel?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was going to say he still has to take the same amount of fuel. They're all fueling up, but what the difference would have been was because they would have started on a full tank, but he would have taken slightly less because he came in one lap earlier. Everyone else has taken slightly more because they've come in a lap later. They've burned more fuel, so that will be that's all the difference would be as far as I'm concerned. I can't see any reason why there'd be any other points of difference there. Here's Crisdale. Whoa, on Vella, and nicely done from Crisdale. Lap 10 of 25, Sebring, Florida, sunset conditions there. But let's remember, of course, the United States is now into that wonderful part of the year known as daylight savings. So it's past 7 o'clock at night there. And therefore, the sun is still up. But we are expecting it to be very close to dark at the end of this race. So they will drive into the night. And we look forward to the finish. Drive-through penalty. Whoa, here we go. Car 43 on car 12. Car 43 on car 12. Ben Morris on Lindsay Hobb.
Ben Morris.
And that was on lap 9. So Morris is coming to pit lane. There have been a couple of penalties already handed out. But the good thing, Kisby, is so far, so good. We have run safety car free, and look at Veacock giving Costello the big hurry up here as they head up towards turn 3. This is going to be a cracking fight between Mustang and Commodore.
As it used to.
Absolutely.
And as it should be. I was very sorry to see the Holdens go out of the V8s.
They're not gone yet, Kisby. They're not gone yet.
Yeah, I know, but it's a big part of my my history as a kid, watching V8 powering around. But then at that time, I mean, you guys were all too young to remember when the minis were up against the bloody Thunderbirds and all that sort of stuff going around Bathurst. But great memories of laying on the floor, blanket, pillow, TV, all for Bathurst. Well, the Hardy Ferrotto, I think they called it back then.
Yeah, it was Hardy Ferrotto, then James Hardy, then Tui's. I think there were a few golden names in the golden era.
Yep, there are.
Now, here's David Kirby. Kirby. No, not quite. Go, Kisby. Oh, no, he has got it. On the exit of the corner. Well done, David Kirby. Can he hold it? Yes, he can. A little bit of hip and shoulder, but hey, David Kirby through to 16th on the inside of Sam Katakazinas. And Katakazinas is coming back at him on the outside. Contact! That goes Kirby into the wall! Sam Katakazinas on something to answer for from race control, I'm sure.
He'll get a drive-through for that. He has to get a drive-through for that one.
Talk us through this, Kisby.
So,
on the simsnap.com iRacing photography replay.
So they battled really well, giving themselves racing room. But what's happened here is he come up here. It's Kirby's actually come trying to get his line again and moved slightly across. So Katakazinas hasn't changed his line. So he may not get a penalty. Because if you don't change your line and you don't move into the other car, then in my eyes that you've avoided the situation. You've got nowhere to go because you're running a racetrack on the left, but the car on the inside has to give you racing room. So that'll be interesting. We'll wait and see what
Let's get back to that in a moment. Here's Daniel Schultz having a moment. Coming down to the back end of the circuit. Straight through. Yeah. Using the escape road up there.
He didn't want to touch the grass.
Can't blame him.
He'd rather bring the cones with him than touch the grass. But
exactly.
Yeah, so just before that incident came on, I just had a big thing in my head. There's something that I read on the weekend that you met up with an absolute icon of mine, Mr. Dickie Johnson.
Yes. I'll come. Let's have story time at the end of the broadcast because we've got about 10 minutes to fill at the end of our window tonight because we're on air earlier.
Yeah,
let's stick around, Kisby, because it's not every day you go into a racetrack. And when you're looking for a lesser-known XL competitor, you're asking Dick Johnson for his whereabouts. It was quite extraordinary. But he, Jet, his grandson, his son, Stephen, all there. Got to chat with the latter two. Dickie wasn't in a talkative mood over the weekend, but we'll get to that later. But when you go to a racetrack and names like Morris, Dane, and Johnson are on the race entry list for the category you're commentating, you're pinching yourself. There's no doubt about that.
Absolute dream of mine. Icons from my era. So and
can I just say how much of a privilege it was to talk to Roland Dane, race driver, as opposed to Roland Dane, team boss. Completely different person. Really nice to see him relaxed and enjoying himself at a racetrack. It was a rare insight into a man that leaves an incredible legacy behind when he steps down as team chief at the end of the year.
Waiting in bated breath to listen to the stories from the weekend.
Let's go to Dean Powell for the moment. We're on board with him. Robert Christow's back in pit lane, so that's not going to work for him strategy-wise, I wouldn't think, unless we get a safety car. I just can't see that working unless he's going to do some incredible fuel saving for the next 13 laps, because let's face it, he's only finished lap 12. I think it's going to be a three-stopper for him tonight. It's going to have to be. He will not get home on fuel from there. We were talking about that when he pitted on lap 7. We thought that was a bit early. Lap 13. There he is, parked on pit road. Lights ablaze. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a problem with the car, but
no.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Cameron Veacock. You can see that Costello's just bolted, hasn't he?
Down Costello.
Well, no. Losing ground to Costello. Costello's bolted. 1.5 up the road. I hate name dropping you this early into a broadcast, but
come on. Give me the name.
Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, and Sean McNamara 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, it was nice of you to mention the Dick Johnson thing. I didn't think that I was going to name drop this early into a broadcast, but yes, there is relevance though, because let's be honest. Here we go. Here we go. No further action. David Kirby. So that incident with the 958. Of Catechizanus and the 307 of David Kirby. No further action from race control. And Chris Kisby, I've got to hand it to you. You called that.
There we go. Yeah, so it's just a little bit of experience. It shows you the importance of actually looking back as to what happened. So you've got to look at the incident from different angles. You see it from the two different drivers' perspective. One thing I never do is go into the car, because in real life you wouldn't get that. So you'd be looking at outside views, you'd be looking at above views, and that's what I base myself on.
Is he Michael Lima-Suria.
Yep. Yes.
Now, I'm not quite sure what's happened to Michael Lima-Suria, because he's buried in the pack. He's down there in position number 18. His pit stop was 22.5 seconds, so whether he's taken tyres first up, and that's what's put him down the order, but still, that doesn't paint the whole picture as far as I'm concerned. He's right down there behind Darren Caldwell at the moment. And in behind him, of course, is Ash Davis. Steve Vella, David Kirby, then further back as well. So Costello, Veacock, and McNamara are the top three at this point in time.
Having seen him drive, and he's only a young driver, isn't he the young fellow? Micah?
Yeah.
Micah?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second here. Did I just hear that correctly? That he was 11 years old? Michael Lima-Suria, he won sim racing. P2, of course, last year's karting championship in Cadet 12, and still rising through the ranks of Australian motorsport, and more talent in his pinky finger than I've got at my entire body, because look at what he's doing at the age of 11.
Look, him and Aiden, they completely. So I mean, him and Aiden. I got to say, Aiden's 10-year-old as well. Now he runs in our up and comers. Now I have a sneaking suspicion that his dad said that he wasn't allowed to race this Wednesday night because he wouldn't get that take into Dad's sim racing time, because he's not eligible to race in up and comers if he wins. So I reckon Dad's pulled a bit of a Swifty there. No, he's off on a camp or something like that. So. Oh,
okay, right. Because I was going to say, if Dad was trying to keep him in up and comers for another year, the club might say otherwise. Just
exactly.
Exactly. Lap 15 here. We're watching Cameron Jones in 5th place and Alex Cord in behind him. Has the race settled down enough for us to crank up the volume yet? I'm not sure.
I reckon
Sean McNamara. Yeah, Sean McNamara is close to Cameron Peacock, though, so we need to keep an eye on that as well. This battle between Jones and Cord is on for young and old as well. Leonage is closing in, so we've got a 3-way fight for second. Peacock, McNamara, Leonage, and then Jones and Cord. Let's wait for that to simmer out, and then we're going to crank up the volume and let you enjoy the sights and sounds of Sebring, Florida here, ladies and gentlemen, on a Tuesday night. Hope you're enjoying our coverage. Sunset in Florida. Another trip to the United States for us. Of course, the American swing well and truly underway as far as the championship is concerned. We've had Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Sebring in as many weeks as far as rounds 5, 6, and 7 are concerned. And a few more American legs still to come, but we've got Hockenheim coming up in due course as well. There's Cameron Jones. Still holding off Alex Cord. Now, Rainer Costello, Veacock. Veacock's closing in on Costello. The margin now under a second. So all of a sudden, you've got a 4-car fight at the pointy end of town. So don't take your eyes off any of this, folks. This has been terrific fun so far. And we're only 3/5 of the way through, Chris Kisby. There's still 10 laps to go after the one we're on now, as Murray Walker would say.
Exactly right.
There's so much to play out. Rainer Costello's coming round onto the main straight. Let's hope that we can get through a lap without too much intervention or too much reason to cut in. Let's crank up the volume and enjoy Rainer Costello doing his thing. Rainer Costello doing his thing at the moment at the front of the field, and comfortably so, out to 1.7 seconds over Sean McNamara. Cameron Veacock, Lassie Leonard, Cameron Jones right on pit lane at this very point in time. Alex Cord has also lost some ground here. This is what happened. So here he is all over the back of, was that Cameron Jones?
Cameron Jones.
Around the outside.
Oops,
And then he's lost some ground, ended up on the grass, and that's cost him not just one spot, but it's cost him a lot of ground as well. So he's continuing on, trying to get another lap out of the car. Simon Chadwick now moves up to fourth, Court to third. Costello and McNamara continue on, but Leonage, Veacock, Jones, all on pit road. So too Urquhart, Vella, Hobbs, Mulford, and Brewer. So we're into that second and final round of sequence of pit stops for you, ladies and gentlemen. Once this balances out, it's going to be interesting.
Wow.
So Leonage has jumped Cameron Veacock in the pit lane. Now we pointed, and this is the thing, Kisby. It's going to be interesting to see if that will come back to bite Leonage or not. Look at the times. 15 seconds for Leonage, 17.07 for Veacock. Veacock, I don't think there's any question that he'll be fueled to the end. But as for Leonage, well, who knows?
Yeah.
Now, let's have a look at the comparison there. Leonage, he came in at... I'm just having a look here. The end of lap 16. And it was also the end of lap 9, was it not? Yeah, 9 and 16. And as for Veacock, Veacock had to take on more fuel because he did the extra lap in that stint. So
great little graphic.
Leonard, that's the difference again. That is yet again the difference. Veacock pitted earlier first time round.
Yep.
Pitted the same time this time round, but had to take on an extra 4.4 litres. That's all the difference.
Yep, they're in. Good to get back. Good getting back with
Raider
you after
and...
that.
Sorry, you go, Kisby.
I see. Yeah, it's good to get.
Oh, hang on. That was very close for Veacock ending up off the circuit. They are committed tonight. There's no doubt about that. Have a look at this. Onto the main straight. The leaders are moving. Court, Chadwick, Costello, McNamara. Oh, it's a race for young and old in Sebring tonight. And look at McNamara sweeping up around the outside. And it's the three-way fight. He's going to squeeze his way around the outside, is he? Oh, unbelievable stuff from Sean. Contact. And they're both on the grass. But it's McNamara that loses out in all of that. Veacock goes through, Leonage goes through, McNamara loses out.
Wow.
And Jones is nowhere in this battle either, Chris Kisby. Jones has dropped out of it completely.
Yep, he has. He's dropped, keep going down. Yeah.
Oh, look. It's hard to call that one. It's really hard to call.
They've given each other racing room. I'd like to look from the rear chase view just to see how much they moved into the corner. See, there's been a lot of movement in the corner from the blue NTS car, where he may have stayed out, and the green car, 9.5. Who's the green car? But he had run out of race room basically. So yeah. Yes, Will.
A little bit of damage for Leonage. Might just affect his run forward here, boys. JP in our ear just telling us to be wary of that. That's all right, kids. On here.
Yeah.
We can. If you're wondering why we go off tangent sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, it's just because we've got this magic voice in our ear that you can't hear. It's not the voice of God, but it's the next best thing as far as broadcasting is concerned. It's our director, JP, doing a great job as per usual. Alex Court, Simon Chadwick, both in the lane now. So forget about them as far as race contention is concerned. Disappointing night at the office for Court, but Chadwick, he's had an okay run. Court, you normally expect him to be a little bit further up the front, but not tonight. In the meantime, Rainer Costello has bolted 3 seconds to margin. Veacock, Leonage, McNamara, the fight for second continues. Can Leonage and McNamara go with Veacock? If they don't stick with him now, they're going to lose him. And how much damage or how much has the damage, rather, the small damage costing Leonage at the moment? Court, he's 6th. Chadwick, Urquhart, Vella, then Davis, the top 10. Him and Benny Morris both in the lane now. Lindsay Hobbs moves into 10th. So that's been an all right run for Lindsay. Just looking through the field, Chris, I think it's probably a good time to point out 10 positions gained for Chadwick in 7th from 17th. Brian Cooper from 21st up to 11th. Craig Roffey from 29th up to 12th. They are the 3 big movers tonight in this field. And Sam Katakazinas, also worth noting, even though it's outside the top 20, he's gone from 32nd to 21st. So clearly a better racer than qualifier there is Katakazinas. Everyone else has gained, there's been a couple of 2s, 1s, 3s, and 4s. But they're the big movers tonight.
Nice 17 spots for Craig Roffey. You've got to be happy. There's certain goals that you set yourself in the race. The first one is to improve your position from qualifying. The second is you'll pick where you're going to be. In my case, I look for, depending on the race that I'm doing, up-and-comers, I'm looking for top 10. It's a GT3 race or a V8 race, I'm looking for top 15, top 20 first, and then I go to top 15 if I'm in a position. And then as I go through and work through the race, I start picking my goals, and I work towards that. So these guys will have very, very similar goals throughout the race, and they change as things change on the racetrack.
Look at this, the ongoing fight between McNamara and Leonage. Can they go with Veacock? More importantly, if McNamara can get by Leonage, if that damage is in fact compromising him at all. If McNamara and Leonage swap around here, can Leonage go with Veacock? Let's wait and see in all of this.
Starting to get down to the point.
Oh, no, they're coming out! Leonage! That's the thing that we're seeing tonight! Of that magnitude, of that sort! Unbelievable! The drama that's coming out of this round of the championship. McNamara goes to 3rd, but whether he stays there or not, that's an issue for race control to sort out. And by gee, they're earning their money tonight.
Oh, they are. And it'd be interesting to see if he redresses on track here and whether he feels that he caused the incident or not. So, coming in, they're trying to get in. Who's got the run? The run is the inside car. He turned into him. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, Sean McNamara. So, McNamara's the green car, I believe. Yes. So, he's actually turned into the back. So, that'll be a drive through. If I was race control, I'd be driving through that one.
And that will enable, if that is how it plays out, Chris, with 6 laps to go, that will enable Leonage back onto the podium, which would be a mighty escape in all of this.
It would be. If he doesn't redress on track, then I would say that that's what's coming his way. You sort of can't let that go past. He'd have known he was there. Yeah.
Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, Sean McNamara, then Lassif, Leonage, Cameron Jones, Alex Court, Simon Chadwick, Blake Urquhart, Simon Vella, and Lindsay Hobbs, the top 10. Lassif, Leonage, very cool, calm, collected character. This will be a challenging night for his temperament, no doubt about that. However, if he can keep a cool head, he could well still reap a podium out of all of this and still maintain the championship lead. So Costello, Veacock, and Leonage. We know Leonage has got that 5 points up his sleeve from qualifying, so he could still win the round tonight, despite finishing 3rd.
Having said that, as I was leading to before, we're at the pointy end of the race now. These guys are starting to think, this is where I got to make my move. This is where I got to put the pressure on. The trick in that is not making a mistake in that putting the pressure on the other driver.
Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, Sean McNamara, the top 3 at the moment. Race control, no doubt, reviewing the tape of that incident between him and Lassif Leonage. So am I. I think half Australia is waiting for it at the moment, at least as far as the viewing audience is concerned. Great to have you with us across SimShed Broadcasting, Real Sim Racing Australasia. Down the inside, hits him. More fun! More contact! And they somehow saved it. Can you believe that? That is extraordinary.
And this is the type of racer you'd expect it.
Jacob Brewer, what a save!
at this end of the race. It's as I said, it's the pointy end. This is where they got to make their move. They've done 20-odd laps where they've kept their car clean. They've done all the hard work, stay in the race, stay on the lead lap. Now it's time for the drivers to earn their money. Their skill comes into it. The car's reliability comes into it. Have they looked after their tyres enough? Have they made the right fuel strategy call? Here we go.
A good piece of driving there from Robert Crisdale.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, this is a battle worth watching. Brian Cooper, Robert Crisdale, Dean Powell, the team up, the double job. I wouldn't want to be on the outside. I wouldn't want to be Dean Powell on the 88 because you've got Crisdale and you've got Roffey all over the back there as well. So my apologies, it wasn't Cooper, it was Roffey. The third car and all of that. Crisdale holding on for the moment. But the pressure's about to be applied, no doubt, in this battle for 12th at the moment. Also, Lindsay Hobbs under pressure from Brian Cooper, the battle for 10th. Everything else is pretty well simmered at this point in time. McNamara still closing in on Veacock, or still trying to go with Veacock, but nothing worth pointing out there at this point. Our timing monitors aren't really lit up yellow or orange except for right now because Alex Court, you can see right there chasing down Cameron Jones. That is for the last position in the top 5. That'll be for the 2 NCS teammates to secure a double top 5 finish this evening. And when you have a look at the teams championship, I'll be interested to see how that's impacted by what's going on here as well. The NCS boys always so well represented at the pointy end of town there. A top 5 result for both will no doubt help them out in that regard. Costello, Veacock, McNamara, Leonage, Jones, Court, Chadwick, Urquhart, Vella, Hobbs, the top 10. This is lap 22. Rainer Costello's on the run home. Sun setting in Sebring. Lights coming on trackside. Beautiful side here. Lights ablaze on a lot of these cars as well.
It is.
The drama Kisby has been with us right from the start tonight, right from when Massive Leonage bogged it down off the line, dropped 5 positions, and all hell's broken loose ever since.
We'll be looking for our soothers and that at the end of this race, I tell you.
Oh, mate, the honey's on standby. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe race control are saying to themselves, well, it's too late to issue a drive-through penalty at this stage, or maybe there was nothing at all in it. But, nothing still come through. It'd be a shame it'd be a shame that the penalty wasn't applied on track and it comes afterwards. So, in my experience, it's always better to resolve it on track rather than as a post-race penalty. That way, what's done on the track is left on the track, and you can get on with other stuff outside the track.
I really hope you've enjoyed our coverage so far, ladies and gentlemen. The Sebring International 150, not our first American round of the season, and definitely not our last. In fact, next week we stay in North America, but we go to Canada. Mosport, the venue, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time next week, right here on Simshed Broadcasting.
So looking forward to that immensely. I'll have to wait and see how I go.
Yeah, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, lovely part of the world. Great racetrack. We saw a cracking stock car race there in GSRC some time ago, but it has been a while between visits, so looking forward to Mosport next week. 23 of 25. This guy has been a class above tonight, Chris. He has pretty well led the entire way, with the exception of the pit stop cycles. This guy has just checked out, and it's been a training run for him and could be a season-defining victory for him, because you only need to take a little bit of a confidence out of a good result like this, and it gives you a little bit of momentum going forward. And the key is now to capitalize on that momentum in the next 10 weeks. I know we're talking championship 10 weeks out, but every week we see some ebbs and flows that really add chapter and verse to the tale of the tape here.
Well, it does. And in this particular series, you're in the same car week in, week out. You're checking it out with different tracks, different conditions, different setups. So you're getting more comfortable with the car. The further we get into the series, the more comfortable these drivers are getting with the car in different situations. In our series, we have different cars. We don't really get into a groove, where these guys will actually start to get into a groove and they'll make minor tweaks. Okay, so we think this one's going to be fast here at Sebring, but in Canada we need a little bit more downforce, so we make that little bit of a tweak. So it's just a matter of working out their cars, and by the time we get to the end, it's going to be so close it's not going to be running.
Oh, dear. Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, Sean McNamara, Lassif Leonage, Cameron Jones, the top five. So the usual suspects are there. Alex Court's all over the back of Cameron Jones, though. So that's the battle we should keep an eye on after we call this bloke to the checkered flag. A lap and a half to go for Rainer Costello at Sebring International Raceway in Florida, the home of the Sebring 12-hour tonight. Home of the NTS V8 Super Series, the 7th round, the Sebring International 149, 150, depending upon what your calculations are. And this guy has been a class above. And this will be his second win of the season, I think I'm right in saying. And what a fine performance it will be when he brings it around to the checkered flag. He's just, I mean, well, that being said, we've seen races where the leader has ended up throwing it away in the last lap and a half. So I don't want to put the mic on him. We want to see this guy bring it home for the FORDs, for the Mustangs,
in their defense,
and continue their strong start of the season.
Yeah, in their defence, mate, that's usually a stone cold fundraiser after the main racing that happens.
Well, that's true too. Round onto the back straight one more time. Costello's on his way home, and really, this just sends a message to the rest of the paddock that this guy is here and not to be messed with, and he's rather serious about it. Oh, Alex Court's dropped off. Now, what's happened here to Alex Court? Or hang on, or Cameron Jones, rather. Cameron Jones, my apologies. Cameron Jones and Alex Court have had a moment here. Let's have a look.
Outside, hit the grass.
Oh, no. A little bit of hip and shoulder. Jones goes round on his own. Well, and Court went round with him. But Court got back going. My apologies. I got sidetracked. I thought it was Jones. No, it was Jones, definitely. I thought it was Court. I couldn't. I was trying to make sense of the timing monitor whilst we were worried about Rainer Costello coming on. But yeah, if this guy hadn't already established himself as a championship contender and a championship threat to the rest of these guys in the last 6 weeks, he certainly has in the 7th.
Flash those lights, mate.
He's on his way home. Lap traffic in the way that has no lights left whatsoever.
You got no bonnet left. Don't worry about lights.
Yeah, and that'll make for a hairy ride home at sunset in Florida. No worry about that. Look at Costello. Lights ablaze. No damage on this car. He has had the perfect night at the office. If only it had been for pole position, it would have been the sweep.
His mechanics will be real happy with him, I tell you.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome from the stewards with Lassif Leonage and Sean McNamara, because at the moment, if Leonage stays 4th, I think I'm right in saying that Costello will win the round by a solitary point. I think that's right on the points matrix. Here we go. Last lap.
You on that one?
Don't trust me. I'm just waiting for JP to be in the earpiece to tell me whether I'm right or not. 25 or 25. We've gone 150 Ks around Sebring. It's been nothing short of entertaining, and this guy is going to do it for the FORDs on a night where Holden had pole position. Holden dominated the early opening couple of laps, but then this guy found his way to the front and did not look back. Yeah, exactly right. And they just have not been able to go with him in race trim. Last turn, checkered flag. Rainer Costello, take a bow. He wins the Sebring International 150, round 7 of 17 in the NTS Super Series for 2021.
Not too much.
What a drive.
Don't hit anything.
Second will go to Veacock. McNamara's followed him home in 3rd. Leonage a long way back in 4th. And I cannot wait to see Rainer Costello bring this back and light it up on the main straight in the airport of Sebring, Florida. How good's that? Well, that's exactly right. Has he got enough fuel to light it up? And actually, that's a fair point, because remember, that's right, exactly, 100%. Leonage comes home 4th, Court in 5th, then a long gap back to Chadwick, Jones, Urquhart, Vella, and Hobbs. They're still making their way around to the checkered flag at this point in time, but Rainer Costello has got the job done in Florida. I think that's my cue to say, take a breath.
Take a breath.
Unbelievable. What a race. So many stories to come out of that, Kisby. I really should have a notepad here, but I don't have time to make notes, because every time you take your eyes off the screen, something happens, as is evidenced by that late race incident for Cameron Jones.
Normally I have notepad and everything beside me, but I've been thrown out because I've gone back in time. So
correct.
I'm not completely up to thing. Yeah, flash your lights there, Rainer. Well done. Great job.
It's true what I've always said, isn't it, Kisby? You cross that border, you wind the clock back 112 years. Notepads weren't a thing 112 years ago.
Well, yeah, there is that famous song that said, if I could turn back time. Well, I did turn back time last night.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear, very good. If only we weren't if only we had a Sony music license or something right about now, that'd crank up nicely, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What a performance from Rainer Costello. I mean, that was scintillating. He bolted towards the front. He didn't waste any time. He was there before the end of the first lap. The Holdens had the muscle in the early stages, but this guy wasted no time in finding his way from third to first and pretty well stayed there with the exception of when the pit stop sequence was rolling through.
He only lost a little bit of time in the pit stop, so, yeah.
Correct. And no safety car tonight either, which is surprising given the carnage we've had, Chris.
Yeah. And it didn't affect him. He still had his strategy right on spot, and he didn't try. He must have seen that he was slower in the pits, but he didn't overcompensate by speeding out of the pits or copping a black flag or anything like that. So he's done a really, really good job driving tonight.
Indeed. Oh boy, they're going to come around and celebrate here. Sean McNamara also happy because he got third tonight. Cameron Veacock brings it home in second. That'll serve Veacock well as far as the championship is concerned because he'll just chip away at that. Actually, no, my apologies. He will actually lose to Leonage tonight because Leonage has got that 5 bonus points for pole position. So the margin should, on mathematics, extend by a point tonight. Rather than Veacock gain 4, Leonage will gain 1, which is how it happens.
I'd be waiting on firm positions for McNamara and Leonage. So
there goes Rainer to light it up for you, ladies and gentlemen, too, by the way.
Yep. Come on, Mr. Director. Get on him. Get that forward plate.
There it is. There he goes. We might be able to get a replay of that for you from another angle. There's the results for you, folks. Holdens dominate the top 10, but Ford finishes on top. Costello from Veacock, McNamara, Leonage and Court. Then we go back to Chadwick, Jones, Urquhart, Vella and Hobbs. An interesting night at the office for so many of them. Cooper, Powell, Roffey, Limasuri in the end. Disappointing after where he qualified. He ended up dropping 7 positions throughout all of that. Brewer, Mulford, Caldwell, then Katakazinas, a good charge through the field from him. Morris and Crisdale take us back to 20th. So 11 and 20, there were 5 Holdens and 5 Fords. And then in the 21 to 30, there's 6 and 4, just as there was in the top 10. Ireland, Vella, Dawson, Michael, then Schultz, Kirby, Schultz, Davis, Delios, and Barnes. McCune, Simmons, and Crossingham, non-finishers tonight.
But I've always said, Mr. Zach Caban, it doesn't matter how many lions are in the top 10, so long as the one in number 1 spot is a blue sticker.
Yep, I'm hearing you. Now, race time tonight, 52:20. The perks of going safety car free. Hey, 52:20 race time tonight for Rainer Costello. 8 seconds, the winning margin in the end. By gee, that's a thumping in this class, in this category, in this championship. Oh, that's just
drivers.
Brilliant stuff. He's in the green room. We'll drag him in just a moment. I'll let JP do the honours there for us, and we'll get stuck into what should be a very interesting post-race show because there's a lot to try and dissect, but we'll start with the race winner, and the rest of them, as they join us, they'll join in the fun of the fair as well. Rainer, yeah, that's a round of applause from Kisby and me, actually, mate, because that was just a superb drive from you. I mean, we don't like to show bias in any way, shape, or form, even though we are passionate Ford fans. But the fact of the matter is, you started third. You got a ripper of a start. So we're going to have to talk to you about that in a moment. Then you've pretty well been in control from halfway through the opening lap all the way through to the end, and you were just on a different level tonight. 8 seconds, the winning margin, and a game changer as far as the championship is concerned, mate. And we believe that you have won the round by a solitary point pending post-race investigations with the McNamara-Leonage incident, which I'm still waiting for a verdict on. But, mate, you couldn't have asked for much more than that tonight.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome to have a Mustang on top again. But yeah, it was from the start. It's funny, I haven't done a practice start since Watkins Glen. Well, I didn't even do a practice start then because it started from the pits. So yeah,
I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate you.
pretty much nailed it off the start, and then managed to get down the inside of Cameron. And then basically from there, it was about trying to manage tyres and manage the gap. Cameron was keeping me honest all the way through the stint. I knew he was there, and then I think the overcut was pretty close on the first stop, and yeah, we managed to bring it home.
Yeah, well, you
You
didn't
certainly
lose
did.
concentration either on those stops there because was it obvious that you were slower in the pit stops? And they could have overcut you there, and keeping you cool so as not to make the mistakes for black flags. Was that conscious in your mind, Rainer?
Yeah, well, firstly to not make mistakes for black flags.
Yeah,
Pretty much the whole game was just to keep it smooth, to try and get the 5 point bonus for 0x. I managed to do that. And
excellent.
yeah, in the pit stops, it was pretty tight. The first one, I knew Cameron was going to be right on my tail, but in the second one, the fuel burn was a lot higher than I first anticipated. So I came into the second stop, realized that I had to put on more fuel than I expected. Quickly got the calculator up and did a bunch of stuff and got the fuel right. So just rolled it home and only had enough fuel to do a couple of burnouts.
Yeah, we saw that just as we were getting focused on you. Off you went because you'd run out of fuel. Hey, mate, quickly, let's just dissect all of this because this is a tremendous way for you to bounce back after what must have been frustration after Sonoma and the penalty incurred there that saw you at the back of the grid for Watkins Glen. A nice way to reassert yourself at the top end of town.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the last two rounds have been some of my poorer results, but it's actually been the most fun I've had in a while, just racing in the pack, trying to come through. So yeah, they obviously points wise they weren't the best rounds, and it was good to bounce back here.
Yeah, the race itself, as Sean McNamara and Cameron Veacock join us here post race as well, folks. We'll get to those guys in just a moment. We'll have a good long conversation because the fact of the only 9:37. I said the broadcast window goes until 10:30. We were on at 8:20 tonight or 8:23 because of circumstances beyond our control. There, the fact that the race was scheduled to start a little bit earlier than usual, but at least we've got plenty of time to dissect with these guys and look ahead to what's coming up as far as the championship is concerned. Rainer, let's talk about last week because we didn't get a chance to chat to you after last week's race. You say it's some of the most fun you've had. Is it because you got a good chance to just work on your racecraft, work on overtaking, work on fuel strategy, work on those things that maybe you don't get to work on as much at the pointy end of town?
Yeah, definitely. And it's also fun to race some of the other guys. You know, we've got all the usuals up the front end, and you don't usually see some of the other guys. And to get down there and really have a good race with them, I reckon that's part of the fun part. And trying to come through the pack is a good challenge.
Chris Kisby, I can't go to Chris at the moment, but he is still with us in the broadcast room here at the moment, and we will get back to him very shortly, and he might have a couple of questions to throw your way. Rainer, I'll come back to you, mate. Stay there for me. Plenty of time to have a chat here for the next 3/4 of an hour or so. Cameron Veacock, let's go to you. Second tonight, but a distant second at that. However, it wasn't all the smoothest night at the office, it's fair to say. A couple of interesting, hairy moments along the way, not just for you, but for a few others as well. But you brought it home in second. Is that the best that the Commie had tonight?
Oh, look, it was one of those things that it was a great race. Rayner got a good start. I thought I had him, but then coming down into the hairpin, he just outbraked me. It wasn't until halfway through the race that I realised that I actually put the qualifying set on and put full in it. I didn't actually have my quiet race set on, so I was battling the car the entire time. It just, I was trying to change bars. I was trying to get anything to just get this thing to turn because it was just dying after a couple of laps. But look, we did the best we could. I'm sure Sean was behind me and he was watching the car twitch all over the place.
I'll get to Sean in just a moment. Actually, Rainer, I want to come back to you because I noted in the commentary, in fact, it was hard to take a breath in the first minute. There was not much going on. But when you went down the inside there, I was interested in your strategy because sometimes you're used to seeing some people just happy to tuck in and just follow and maybe save some fuel, learn a thing or two of the tricks of the trade. But you wanted to lead from the front tonight, and that was pretty evident.
Yeah, well, I find it's sort of a trait in my real life racing as well. I sort of prefer to control the race from the front, control the pace, and then that way I can just have full control over the race and do what needs to be done to get the race win on the sort of pace that I want and keep the fuel number good.
Cameron, let's go back to you. Obviously, a little bit of a frustrating end for Cameron Jones. He had a moment there around the back of the circuit. He and Alex Court both went pirouetting together. But the team as a whole, second and seventh tonight, is that a good step for you going into Mosport next week?
Oh, look, it's definitely a great step for the team going forward. Cam was really quick at Mosport, so hopefully we can back some of those results up there. It's going to be a very, very tough track. It's tight, twisty, and there's not a lot of overtaking areas. So it's going to be one of the races, as Raider says, you're going to have to get out front and just try and drive away as best you can.
Second thing with regards to the race here, unfortunately for you, I mean, you were 9 points behind Lassif coming into this round, I think it was. I think you'll go away 10 behind rather than 4 behind because of the fact that he took pole position. So, unfortunately, it just means there's a little bit of extra work to do in the championship. But 10 rounds, a point a week, you can definitely still catch Leonage and maybe even clear out if he has a bad night at the office. You're still right there as a championship contender. Is it too early to think about the championship given that it's only round 7, or are you well and truly aware of the stakes here at the moment because rain is closing in too?
Oh, look, I wouldn't say I'm not looking at the championship points. I'm definitely looking at them, but I'm just taking each round as it comes at this stage. The idea is just to try and get as many points as we can and see how we end up at the end of the season.
Excellent stuff. Let's press on here. And apologies too. I've just okay. I'm just getting a message here that we can actually have an early night if we want. So if we do wrap up early here and I run out of questions, guys, you will get an early mark. Sorry. It's always hard trying to watch and keep an eye on 5 different things at once. So I've just got that message through on Messenger here between the commentators. Let's press on and bring Sean McNamara in at this point in time. Obviously, I need to start where the action lies, mate, and there was plenty of it tonight. And you in the closing stages, right in the thick of it with the number 1 Lassif Leonage. Talk us through it from your perspective, please.
Yeah, look, got a run on lads at the last corner there, and he went defensive as he does down into there, and I got the run on the outside over under and got the good switch back, and I've sort of watched the replay back, and there was room between the 2 cars when there was contact. Yeah, certainly not my intention with lads. It's a great race. I've got a lot of respect for him, so certainly didn't want to touch him, and my replay shows I didn't, but I certainly didn't give him a lot of room, which is how we race. So yeah, just not ideal. Thankfully, he recovered, still finished 4th, but yeah, not ideal for him. And we had another contact earlier on as well, but happy for people to have a look and see what they think about both of them.
I was going to say, sounds as though we mentioned here in commentary that it might be something that race control takes a look at, but we haven't heard anything as yet. Are you worried about what they might be looking at the moment with regards to particularly the second incident, because that was the main one?
Oh, look, no, not really. If there's a penalty, there's a penalty. Warranted and deserved, if they think that's the case. But like I said, my replay shows there's more than a wing distance between the rear of the cars, and his car jumps pretty hard sideways. So I'd be calling it net code that we weren't going to make contact. But again, I support Laz, great guy, great driver, and last thing I want is contact. And if race control look at it and call a penalty, then we're on the chin and move on.
Indeed. As for the rest of the race, Cameron, pit strategy for you was quite interesting because we were making note of where you guys were gaining and losing time, and it was a case of, I think if memory serves, we might even be able to bring our pit graphic up on screen, JP, that you went in a lap earlier than everyone else, if memory serves. So therefore, come the second stint, when you went in at the same time as everyone else, you lost time because of the fact that you had to take on that extra lap of fuel. What was behind the strategy game from your end tonight, please?
Oh, look, it was one of those things. It was always going to be a race about strategy tonight. There was a lot of pace out there, but my strategy behind it was if I could go in a lap earlier and try and take as much fuel as I could in the first stint, then the second stint I could take a little bit less, hopefully, because I worked out some calculations on how many laps I was going to get on a tank of fuel. So the idea was to try and get that little bit of a jump, but I actually got held up coming out of the pits on my first stint. And then the second stint, we all pitted together and the lads were coming behind me, and I actually took on about 6 litres extra fuel. So I don't even know what happened there. Just my stationary time was a lot longer than everybody else's at that point in time, which was a bit frustrating, but it is what it is.
Now, the salvage second out of all of that, given the little bit of time that you lost in the pit lane, was not a bad outcome. As you said, you were chasing that car all night long. So when you take it out of qualifying trim, put it in race trim, you must be happy with where things sit going into the next couple of rounds.
Definitely so. I couldn't believe when I stopped the second time, I looked up and went, I'm in the qualifying trim, and that's why the car just was not turning. I was struggling coming through turn 1. Turn 2 and those complexes weren't too bad, but trying to stop in the hairpin was just killer after about 4 laps on tyres. It just destroyed me. I couldn't get the thing stopped.
Hope you're enjoying our coverage wherever you're tuning in all around Australia. If you are just joining us, you're here for the post-race show. Round 7 of 17. There's another 10 weeks of this magnificent mayhem and action to go. It is the NTS V8 Super Series, and that was the Sebring International 151 by Rainer Costello from Cameron Veacock and Sean McNamara. They're sitting here in the booth with me. Chris Kisby's back as well. I'll get to Chris in just a moment. The question I've got for you now, Sean, given that Cameron said he was all over the place in the closing stages, you obviously had the best seat in the house to that entertainment, but does it distract you as a driver in terms of if he has a moment, you're worried about having a moment, or you're worrying about having to take evasive action if it does head down the proverbial creek? Is it difficult when there's a car that's all over the shop in front of you to focus on your own game, or are you able to put that to the back of your mind?
Oh, fairly well back of the mind. It does throw you a little bit. It just depends where you are on the track when it's happening. It's either little moments or big moments, and certain parts of the track you get pretty cautious if someone's having a moment, especially through the last corner there. A couple of times, Cam sort of locked the fronts and pushed wide, and there's not a lot you can do because at some point they're going to come back on the race line, so you sort of just got to roll out of it and wait for it to settle. But other parts of the track, into the hairpins, for example, a bit of a lock rear or something like that, you can get away with getting down and in there. But it changes the mindset a little bit, probably more so for Cam than me. But
yeah.
But yeah, no, you do. Depends where you're on the track, mate, and what action you need to take, I guess.
Yeah, a bit of hip and shoulder tonight in the opening couple of laps. You just saw the Ash Davis car parked in the wall there on the main straight. What is it about Sebring, boys? And this is a question that's open to anyone that throws up this sort of, tight, tense racing, but also that little bit of destruction derby mentality as well. Is it just the racetrack, or is it that everyone's hyped up and excited because this is Easter week and there's a lot going on?
Well,
No, you go. Yeah, Rainer. You go very much.
Rainer, I don't know if you can actually give us an answer because you were too far out in front, Queen set of heels. Yeah, exactly.
Mate,
but I'll take your comment anyway.
When you're first on race day, you can say whatever you like, Rainer. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, well, leading up to the race, I did a couple of VRS GT sprint races, and I did the half of the Sebring 12-hour before we pulled out. But I definitely noticed that Sebring is a track with a lot of quite a few high-speed corners, which definitely makes racing wheel-to-wheel quite hairy. And then there's a lot of hairpins that switch back on each other, and that can lead to big braking zone overtakes, dive bombs, all that sort of thing. So I think that definitely contributes to the fact that there's a lot more overtaking zones, and there's a lot more moments where a lot more big risk moments.
Well, particularly, 3, 4, and 5, that 3-part turn 7, and also, I guess, 10 and 11 as well, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and it's just so many different lines and bits and pieces that you can take. And this surface is not really suited to a low downforce car, and it's kind of a slow corners on the long straights tends to lead to big moves into hairpins. So, but yeah, correct. It's a mixture of everything, and low grip track, low grip cars with plenty of horsepower, and it tends to be a little bit like this sometimes.
I'm just having a glorious look at the sim server now, boys, because no one's left. It's just me and the pace car having a look on here, and JP as well. And it's now stone dark, beautiful black sky. The lights are ablaze. Sebring's looking a picture on a Tuesday night, as well it should. But we got this race run in the sunset. Did we enjoy the time of the day, or did the sun get in your eyes at any point there, boys?
Oh, look, I think it was actually fantastic to drive in the early hours of sunset for the change. It was nice watching the transition. My transition from daytime to night was actually as I was coming into the hairpin, so I bundled my braking marker just as the lights flicked on.
Yeah.
And I'm looking behind me and I'm watching Sean going, oh no, where's he going? Because I'm just trying to pedal this thing to get it to stop. And it literally just that split second as I went under the bridge, the lights flicked on. It just completely threw me.
Any of you guys in VR, boys?
No, I'm not.
Not anymore, no.
No. Well, there you go. That's why they all like it there, Zach, because in VR, when the sun goes down and is in your eyes, you cannot see a thing. Now, if you're not using VR, that's it.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, Kisby, while we've got you, anything
sorry
else? Do you want to? No, that's all right. No, that's fine, mate. We all need a pit stop every now and then. Let's just throw the floor open to you. Have you got any questions you want to throw the way of these three gentlemen while we've got them?
I've already spoken to Raina there and that. And we are waiting on. I did miss the thing with Sean.
I've heard nothing in my ear about Leonage or McNamara, so I'm assuming all is well. McNamara is going to get third here.
Laz and I have been talking, but certainly.
So long as you're still talking, that's the main thing. But coming from a race control point of view, that's not an easy decision, especially in the last 2 or 3 laps on that. But it's great. I mean, I learned so much from you guys every single week that I'm watching. And if you've ever been to the Gentleman's and you see me racing, you know that I'm a mid back to rear back, depending on how much Zach gets into my ear.
Yeah, well, okay. Let's just remind everybody. I'm going to jump in here that Chris Kisby, when we do the Gentleman Sim Racing Club broadcast, which you see on a Friday night on SimShed Broadcasting, let's just polish that off for starters. Kisby makes the gutsy move, the ballsy move of being an in-race reporter for us, and there's tricks to the trade there. Some people, like Dick Johnson, who we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, brilliant at it. Some drivers, it's a distraction, especially when I'm going all Darrell Eastlake on the midway through the race. I don't know how you do it, Kisby.
Boys, if you want a real challenge when you're driving, just sit there and do race commentary while Zach's doing it. Concentrate on going down the cutting. To each and every one of you, a fantastic race. Really loved you and the battle between Sean and Lasseth. Cameron got away a little bit there on him, so it was a little bit more. And then Raina, well, there you go. As I said, we all know the other saying, but first on race day is all the one that matters. But great racing, right, guys?
Well, first on race day and finished on race day, they're both better than the other one.
Exactly.
Actually, well, there's other two. But one isn't air appropriate. Hey, let's continue the conversation here. It's interesting watching the transition from circuit to circuit, Cameron. There are some circuits that suit the Mustang better. There are some circuits that suit the Commodore better. But conversely, a lot of it comes down to the drivers because you guys are so evenly matched.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's actually a really great series. There's a lot of great battles at the front, and everyone tries to respect each other as much as possible. With the cars, definitely there's some cars that work better at different tracks, and I guess having an open setup, it does throw a bit of a spanner in the works too, to see who gets that car set up better on race day.
That's a question that's come up from there, is that when you look at the baseline setup for the Ford and the Holden, they're exactly the same. So you get the setup for the Ford, put it in a Holden. How much difference is there between? You won't get me in a month of Sundays in a Holden, I can tell you. How much difference is there? And I've heard some people say that there is a big difference between how the Ford and the Holden handle on exactly the same setup. I'll just get. I'll start with Sean.
Look, I actually think it's a bit of a mental thing, but I do find that the Mustang brakes a little bit nicer. But I think it's what you've got your settings to. If you don't have everything identical across the two cars, your calibrations and all those bits and pieces and your brake bits and bobs, I think that's where the differences come in. But yeah, I actually feel more comfortable in the Mustang. I don't know if it's because then the window net's a bit lower and doesn't take up the whole side of the thing, but yeah, that's just my view. But I'm in the Commodore. I enjoy it.
Yeah, Cameron.
Yeah, so I got to agree with you, Sean. I'm not sure how different. Like when I've driven, the Mustang feels like the field of view on the Mustang. Definitely, the windscreen looks like you got a lot better field of view. Down the center of the Commodore, you've got this massive big bar that tends to block a lot of the corner if you're trying to turn left, whereas the Mustang doesn't have that. So you get a bit more visibility around you. So whether it's mental, whether it's something with the car, I don't know. But I'm a Holden boy, so I'll always try and drive.
I've never even noticed that or knew that because I haven't even bought the Holden. I wouldn't even consider buying a Holden. And last but not least, Rainer.
Yeah, well, I actually prefer the Holden when I drove it.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Hang on.
Right. You've just lost him, Rainer.
No. I'm meaning in terms of driving, when I drove it with Lachlan Murphy in the Bathurst 1000 last season, I actually preferred how it drove. Unlike the other guys, I preferred it under brakes, and it felt a lot more stable compared to the Mustang. No, even if the Commodore I felt was better, I'd never drive one.
Okay. All right, you just redeemed yourself. You got out of that one quick.
Yeah. Oh, well done, Rainer.
You did dominate Bathurst in the Commodore, mate. So.
Sorry, what's just set off the fit of giggles there, folks? We just got a message in our ear saying that because Rainer's said that he actually likes the Commodore, there's a message in our ear saying he's just been docked 10 championship points, but that's not actually true. If and when those championship points are ready, we'll have a look at them. But the other question that's all right. They're not ready yet, but we'll keep talking here because obviously race control is still deliberating as well, and there's a couple of other things happening. But so that means that we've got a little bit more time to fill here. You might sense that the voice box is a little croaky where I'm about to fix that. But before I do, let me ask you guys a question. Based on what we were just saying about the cars, is anyone here a Holden supporter driving a Ford or a Ford supporter driving a Holden, or are we in the manufacturers that we align with when we actually watch the real world thing? JP's a Holden supporter that owns a Ford. There you go. How about that? Anyone else in the same boat?
I'm in the manufacturer of my choice.
Manufacturer.
Yep.
Yeah, I was born and bred into Chevrolet and Holden, but I'm actually a Ford person.
Now, see, now Sean's just redeemed himself for the night as well. Very nicely done.
We can no longer be friends. It's over.
So next week, Sean, I expect to see you in the Holden, but in a Ford livery.
Actually, there's a challenge.
Well, we have got delivery on the Falcons and the team as well. So
excellent.
Isn't that just typical Australian? I mean, and let me just bring. I hate referring to my real world experiences and my own personal stuff, but let me just put it this way: I have a beautiful friend down home in New South Wales who we both agree on Melbourne Storm as far as the NRL is concerned. I'm not sure who her AFL team is, but we both go with. We both love our summer of cricket. We've got some really good connections there, but. When it comes to state of origin, I'm Queensland, she's New South Wales. She won't talk to me for 6 weeks. And when it comes to the Bathurst 1000, as much as I don't pay anywhere near as much attention to it as I used to, if you believe that or not, and if some people will find that very hard to believe, but they don't know the history. I'm a Ford person. She's a Holden, and I blame, and this comes back to what you were talking about, Kisby. I blame Dick Johnson. For the, I know, true story. So, again, we've got a little bit of time to fill. We've got championship points and a few other things. These boys will thank their sponsors, etc., and so forth. So we've got a bit of time to kill. So here's a little story for you. When I was younger, young kids are very impressionable. I don't know if you've noticed that, Kisby, over the years. You've got a bit more life experience than I do. Anyway, I always wanted to be like a Darryl Eastlake or a Ray Warren, wide world of sports. But my favorite color was yellow. And you know what? I think it had something to do with the fact that the Wide World of Sports logo on their studio floor was yellow, if you remember the old studio floor there in Norby.
With bananas and pajamas.
No, although I didn't mind them either. However, yeah, I think that's where the love of the colour yellow stems from, because the Nine logo and their on-screen graphics, as far as Wide World of Sports was concerned, was yellow. And then they all changed that in 1997, but my favourite colour was still yellow. That all, you know. Anyway, so conversely, Fatty Vorton, also in the Channel 9 stable, was supporting Queensland, was coaching Queensland, right? So being in New South Wales, born and bred, going for Queensland, I've always hated at that time of year when State of Origin's on, and probably rightly so. I probably reap what I deserve what I get. But so with my favourite colour being yellow, everyone else in the family is Holden supporter, but I'm a Ford supporter, and I put it down to the Shell FAI Falcons from 93 to 96 that Dick Johnson was running with John Bowe. I put it down to that. I said to Dick when I met him at the Noosa Hill Climb a few years ago, I said, you're probably the reason to blame for that. And I told him the story. He had a good chuckle. And then conversely, with the State of Origin thing, you're never going to teach a 5-year-old what the meaning of the word origin is. And when in the year that I turned 95, Paddy coached the Queensland side to that famous 3-0 victory, and my path was sealed with Queensland. So yeah, it's always interesting being that Queensland supporter in the house at that time of the year, and even more so because every year my eldest sister, I'm the eldest of three, my eldest sister though, the second born, the middle child, the problem one, she has a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, my lovely little niece. And every year when Uncle Zach says, okay, Harper, if Queensland wins the State of Origin series, Uncle Zach will bring you a jumper. I secretly hope that I don't have to fork out the money, because budget was tight last year. But last year it was $15 well spent, because I didn't see Queensland winning that series. Takes the jumper. And it's always met with a frown and I'm going to burn that as soon as you go home comment from my sister. Thankfully, they're all in storage. They haven't been touched. They haven't been harmed as yet. But yeah, Queensland Ford, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? It can be the start of good banter and heated debates amongst friends, and that's what Australian sport is all about.
Having said that, I mean, it harps me back to the great Peter Brock. I was Ford and Ford through, Alan Moffat, Dick Johnson, all those guys were my childhood people, but you cannot go past. I had to relent and say that Peter Brock was one of the best drivers that I have ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it shows the nature of people. You recognise true talent. And then it's like these guys here, Cameron, Sean, Rayner, they choose different cars, but you've got to, at some point, you've got to just sit back there and say, hey, this guy can drive, and no matter what car he's in, you've got to appreciate that. And personally, guys, I do.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you completely. And I mean, he wasn't always loyal to Holden. Remember the BMW of 88, the Sierra of 89, 90? That was, I mean, and he ended up back where his true calling was, which was Holden, obviously. Even Dick Johnson's not perfect. He started in a Holden. So, hey, I mean...
I'm shitty on Craig Lowndes, changing over to Holden.
I'm hearing you. But he went both ways, didn't he? He came from Holden to Ford and then went from Ford back to Holden. But I mean, and again, that just is part of the legacy that Roland Dane leaves behind, because he was successful with both manufacturers and in convincing fashion. Bathurst 1000 touring car titles. The bloke has done a hell of a lot, and in a personal plug, there will be an interview during our coverage of Series X3 Queensland on Saturday afternoon on West Bremer Radio with Roland Dane, XL driver, as opposed to Roland Dane, team chief, and Paul Morris is in on that as well. So make sure you tune in for that. Big deal for us to have as a little, small radio station in the heart of Ipswich. to have. Yeah, I've had some good gets. There's no doubt about that. I'm gonna start buying lotto tickets because I feel as though my luck's only going to last so long. We've got championship points ready for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a quick look at them, and then we'll start talking about the next rounds of the championship. We appreciate these guys sticking around as long as they have. Look at it now. I said it'd be 10 points, but look at Rayner as well. It's now 55 between first and third. Costello's closing in, and that's including all bonus points too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. 72 points rather, between Leonage and Court, who jumps up to fourth. Jones back to fifth now. 2 points the margin there in the battle for fourth and fifth. So what's that? 74 points separating first and fifth. That extends out from where it was at the start of the night. It was 65. But again, that's, Court was fifth. Jones was seventh in the finishing order, so that was always expected to happen. Blake Urquhart, 899, 843 for Ben Morris. Chris Island, 834. Dean Powell, 774, and Darren Caldwell, 759. So we've covered Veacock and also Costello. And where are you in all of that, Shawnee McNamara? I'm just looking for your name.
I've had a DNS and a DNF, so I'm going to round 15 to drop a couple and see where we
see where you balance out. Yeah, exactly. Jacob Brewer, 754, 752 for Alan Dawson. 731 for Ash Davis, Chris Dole on 727, and Schultz on 719. 704 apiece for Scott McEwen and Steve Vella. 697 for Daniel Schultz, Brian Cooper, 682, and Lindsay Hobbs, 668. So, with drop rounds being a factor, there he is in 22nd. Look at that. 664 for Barnes, 649 for McNamara, just 1 point clear of Catechizines. Mulford, 643, and Craig Newell, 636. That'll do us to the top 25. Have a look at the rest of that as they file through there for you, ladies and gentlemen. So with that in mind, Sean, is it 2 drop rounds? Is it 1 drop round? How does this work out, mate?
2 drop rounds. So
that will hopefully bring you back in.
Yeah, it'll bring me back in. It's I think I've had an 8th and a 9th as well, so not as clean as the boys up the front. But yeah, I think it'll bring me well inside the 10 after round 15 if we can keep it clean, because obviously I've already used my 2. So I've had 2 0 rounds. So need to get to round 15 and drop the 2 rounds and see where that drops me overall. But, need a good run for the next 7, 8 rounds.
Well, that's the thing, exactly. It's a case of stringing everything together now and maximising your opportunities because you've already had a DNF. So what's the plan of attack here? Because we've got some critical circuits ahead, like Mosport. Hockenheim's in there, which is a new kettle of fish for everybody. So much to try and factor in here. What's the key to establishing yourself as a championship contender come 16 and 17, knowing that you've got the pace to finish on the podium, as has been proven the last couple of weeks, mate?
Yeah, look, Mosport need to convert there. I've done plenty of laps there recently, so that's a track that I need to do well at because we head to Hockenheim and no one's been there. I don't think I've even downloaded it yet. So that's a complete unknown. But really, it's if you qualify well, your results come from it. Been fortunate, a couple of poor qualifiers and still made the way through the field, so we've got race pace. But for the rest of the season, we've got to get qualifying right. Otherwise, there's no chance of catching any of these boys.
Indeed. I was going to say too, as much as I love the iRacing, we had one car end up on its lid tonight. We saw it roll, but it must have the car in question, I can't remember who it was, must have ended up rolling back onto its front, onto its wheels, or otherwise we would have had a safety car tonight. So we got very lucky there, not having a safety car tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Because, yes, we've had a rollover and they haven't been a regular occurrence so far in this championship. That being said as well, the other thing that iRacing is missing, and I've always said this too for you folks, is we just need the red flag feature as well, just to add to the real world, detail of iRacing. And I think the other big thing that's missing, gentlemen, here's a talking point for you. What about variance in weather? I mean, it's okay to have day racing, night racing, hot racing, cold racing, but surely, given all the money that's been invested in iRacing over the last 12 months, particularly from those countries still in lockdown, where sim racing would be off the chart because they can't go and do the real world thing, we're getting lucky in that regard. We're getting back into the real world. Surely they must be looking at trying to update their weather data, their weather graphics, their weather package. Would you like to see something of that regard, because it would just make it that we're not turning up for 17 dry weather races a season? We can have that variety. What do you reckon, Cameron? I'll start with you, go to Rayner and Sean after.
I would absolutely love to see some rain coming to iRacing. I think it would be fantastic.
Rayner?
I'm in the same boat. Rain would really spice things up and make it interesting.
Well, what about you, Sean? What do you say?
Yeah, it'd be nice to rain on everyone's parade.
Yeah.
But,
Someone had
Yeah.
sorry, guys.
dad joke over there.
You certainly wouldn't want it to be foggy, though. But no, I think, yeah, certainly spice it up for sure, boys. It would be absolutely awesome.
Certainly
Well,
would.
having Automobilista 2, I've actually done Bathurst, Hockenheim, and all those in the rain and the mist and the fog. And I tell you what, guys, you are missing out something chronic if you don't have AMS.
Oh, absolutely.
I would 100% agree with you.
Oh,
And the other,
I love it.
The rain
I was
dynamics in AMS2 is absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
Having the puddle up on the track as well.
it does, yeah.
It just changes absolutely everything.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well, like, I mean, if you have the potential for a red flag element in iRacing, I mean, because we've got to get past this, okay, my race is over, here's the ESC button. I mean, we're not allowed to do that in the NTS Championship, but if we do get an instance where we have an Ambrose Murphy-style incident at Mount Panorama in the finale, and let's face it, with the field as evenly matched as it is, who could rule that out? The fact of the matter is that I'm still watching the server tick down here. We had 2 minutes 30 allotted for the race time tonight, which is, a blessing and ensures no time certainty because, my disdain for that. But it would mean that if we had to bring everyone in, load it up, restart again because we've had a major accident, we've got the potential to do so. So, I mean, there's different things for iRacing to explore, no doubt. I'm just narky with Formula One games from Codemasters, actually, because for 6 years they kept releasing the same sort of rubbish on PS4 after in what was somewhat of a downgrade from PS3, because in the PS3 game, they'd actually introduced red flags. So this time around, you've only got there's one of the incidents we're talking about, Leonage and McNamara. That was the first one. That wasn't even the second one. That was the first one. So no further action on the first one. And no one. And am I right in saying now, JP, just in my ear, please, that the stewards have taken no further action on the second one either? No comment on that at this stage. So if anything happens, ladies and gentlemen, it's clearly going to be burning the midnight oil and getting the coffee brewing.
You'll hear it from us first.
First thing next week, you'll hear it from us. Don't worry about that, unless it goes between now and when we sign off, and we're going to do that very shortly.
But I mean, Zach, I'm going to have to take issue with that on that one with the red flag. I mean, don't you think my job is hard enough with yellow flags, let alone making a decision on a bloody red flag? Now, come on, this game.
Sorry, mate. I'm just thinking of the spectacle. I mean, because you go through the motions of another race start and all that sort of stuff. Just get my decibel range going again. Very good stuff.
As I said, it will be a spectacle with watching me pull my hair out trying to make a decision on this one.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Now, 8 seconds was the winning margin tonight for Reina Costello. Just let's remind you of those race results again, if we can, please, ladies and gentlemen. Race results tonight. Reina Costello, Cameron Veacock, Sean McNamara, Lassif Leonage, and Alex Court. 8 seconds the margin. McNamara gave Veacock good chase every step of the way. Leonage, Court, Chadwick, and Jones. Then Urquhart, Vella, and Hobbs the top 10. Those results will keep scrolling through on your screen so you can refamiliarise yourself with what's unfolded here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. As I do that, just one final comment on I mentioned the safety car thing, Kisby, and the red flag thing. Yeah, I've been up F1 games from Codemasters for rent saying, why am I paying $100 if you're not going to reinvent the wheel? Like, we've gone back in, you used to have the red flags, this, that, and the other. Now you've just got a virtual safety car and a safety car, and you can have an 8-car pile up in that thing and not even get a virtual safety car. So there's it speaks volumes of the iRacing platform has a bit more of a grasp on reality than the F1 games from Codemasters staple does. But anyway, let's hope they pick their game up for PlayStation 5 somewhere down the track. That being said, I haven't even had time to plug in the PS4 of late. It's been a very busy schedule, but we're not complaining. Let's get some thank yous out here from sponsors, or for sponsors rather. We'll start with third tonight, which was, of course, Sean McNamara.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Obviously, shout out to all the boys at 95 Sim Sport. Sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, Racing Ears, Custom Ears Protection, RSW Graphics, AD 3D Printing, Cut Edge Tracks. A lot on the podium tonight, a great commentary, of course, boys, as always. And well done to JP on putting on a cracking show.
Now, with that in mind, stick around, mate, because we're not done yet. We've got to step in and chat about motorsport next week in a bit more detail, because even though I've asked you about it, I haven't really asked the other boys about it yet. It is round 8 of the championship. It is next Tuesday night. And reminding New South Wales, Victorian, Tasmanian, South Australian, and ACT viewers, it's an hour earlier for you next week because of the switcheroo from daylight saving to Eastern Standard Time. So 7:30 across the Eastern Seaboard, 7 o'clock throughout Central Australia, 5:30. What a blessing for those of you in Western Australia. Let's go to Cameron Veacock. Mate, I'm sure there's some people that need to be acknowledged for what was a cracking race on your part tonight as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Big shout out to Cam Jones. We both got heated at each other. Not at each other, but we both got heated in Discord there for a while, but we both seemed to calm each other's down. All the boys at USS, so just the sponsors as well. So Harrop, Adrad, Natrad, Vaveline, Too Easy Finance, West End Mazda, and Parramatta Isuzu U.
Oh, there's the second incident on replay, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, Cameron,
wow.
Stays in Discord.
Yeah, exactly. What goes on tour stays on tour. That's it.
That's exactly right. Like, it was very interesting there for a while. Well, there was a few, let's say, heated words said.
That was quite a phenomenal moment. The heat, the intensity of the race, well and truly raised a level when McNamara and Leonage had their moment there, and Cameron Veacock got very lucky being just ahead of that. Hey, Kisby.
With that incident, sorry.
And the man of the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Rainer Costello, all yours, mate. The floor is yours.
I'd like to thank E1 Sim Racing for all their support. Well done to Dean and Jacob. They had a bit of a tough night at the office. Jacob did. He got caught up in some incidents. Total IT Solutions Brisbane, Abrizi Simware, JP, and everyone that behind the scenes that makes the series happen. You guys in the commentary booth for all the commentary and the live stream to Facebook and all the other social media platforms. And Coghlan Race Engineering. Tonight, we bolted on the GAC setup and sent it, and no changes or anything. I didn't have much preparation time, and just took some fuel out of it for quali, and put the fuel back in for the race. So who says you can't win on a fixed setup?
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, what a subtle little sting and stab at the opposition there from Rainer Costello. The young bloke's just got some swagger about him at the closing stages of the broadcast on a Tuesday night. Boys, let's straighten up a little bit, talk about motorsport. Polar opposite to Sebring, we go to a short track next week. Sean, completely different playing field. Interesting to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. It's a cracking track. It's good fun to drive. It's quick. It's got a couple of long straights, some real technical bits. So that's my kind of track. I like technical ones. So really looking forward to getting there and putting the week behind us and getting on with next week.
Couple of bits of undulation there, some good overtaking opportunities. Cameron Veacock, Sebring threw up an absolute cracker. I'm interested to see what Motorsport's going to deliver for us.
Yeah, 100%. As Sean said, it's going to be a very, very technical track. It's one of those ones that if you're on, you're on, and if you're not, you're going off in turn 2 and you're visiting that tyre wall on the right-hand side. I've seen it all too often. I've done it myself, but I'm really looking forward to it. Like Sean, we've both done hundreds of laps there, so hopefully we can convert them after tonight.
Now, can you guys that are more, iRacing savvy than me, because, I'm still an infant as far as this is concerned, can you just elaborate there? We just saw a replay of cars going onto the main straight and all three turning the lights on at once. Does iRacing do that automatically, or do you guys have a switch there on the dash that you can just flick the lights or not?
Yeah, it's an iRacing default. So once
it's an iRacing default.
They will flick on. I think that's what Cam mentioned earlier. He got caught out into a braking zone because the lights automatically come on and it changes the entire look.
Bloody iRacing controlling every aspect of it, eh? Fair dinkum. Fantastic stuff. Although there were a couple of cars at the end of that race, Chris Kisby, as you saw, that were in no position to even ignite the lights because the whole front of the car had fallen off. I've lost Kisby, have I?
Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're there. Okay, copy that.
I missed that because, as you know my situation here, I just had to chat.
That's all good, mate. I was going to say, yeah, it was interesting because for all the lights that came on automatically, as the boys said, iRacing default, there were a couple that just weren't able to ignite because the front had fallen off, as
That's right.
Clark
Yeah,
and Door once said.
there was no bonnet and no lights and no anything. But it's one of those things. But we'll get a gentle plug in here that the guys may not know that I do drive the tracks before I make commentating. And if I don't have this one, we may have to look for a little bit of a sponsor to get me this one for
That's
next
it.
week.
I'm sure Tim Shed Broadcasting will look after you. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, nice subtle plug from Chris Kisby. Well done.
Oh, look at that.
Rainer Costello has already thanked his sponsors tonight. Now I want to get his thoughts on motorsport as well. Geez, it's been an interesting series so far. And the longer tracks have worked to your favour. Watkins Glen, you had terrific pace despite the fact that you started rear of grid. Here, you just cleared out. What about a shorter track, mate? How are you faring for that?
I'm not sure what my sport looks like, so I'll have to download it in the next few days. That's how it's been most of the season. I've had to download the tracks because I haven't had most of them.
I hate you even more.
No.
Turn one goes left, Rainer.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
And that means it goes right.
Yeah. They're trying to throw you under the bus, mate, and I'm going to get us off there before they have a chance to do it anymore. Rainer, obviously, the fact that Greater Brisbane is in its current situation, the school term finishes early and a few other things as a result, that gives you a little bit more time to focus on most sports. So based on tonight, I feel as though the competition should be worried at this particular point.
Oh, not necessarily, because over the school holidays I'm going away with my dad to work with him, and probably even less time on the sim, but we'll see how we go.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for that. Gentlemen, I was going to try and extend this out to right on 10:30, but I think by the time we get through Kisby's final thoughts and the calendar and a few other things, I don't think we'll have any time left over. Boys, thank you very much for stopping by tonight and spending a little bit extra time in here with us than you normally do. Well done on the podium once again, and look forward to seeing how you fare in Canada next week.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
I always pause because there's always someone that chimes in and says thank you, and they took their time on that one tonight. Anyway, let's radio silence. I was like, hang on. No. Brilliant. Hey, Kisby, obviously I know where your vote's going, but I got to ask you anyway. Driver of the night, please.
Okay, so yeah, mine definitely has to go to Rainer tonight because of the way that he got around early in the first and then totally controlled the race from there. But I must say, having said that, excuse me, the special mention to Danny 13th, Craig Roffey, 16 places, Brian Cooper up 10 places, and Sam Kataxinos 14 places. So and Simon Chadwick 11 places. You've got to mention those guys to come through a pack with as star-studded field as we've got here with the NTS in their V8s is just something that not everybody can do, least alone me.
Yeah. Hey, mate, great to have your company as always. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate your commitment, I must say. Coming from Tassie up to Queensland and bringing all of your sim gear with you. You are ultra committed. You should be applauded accordingly. So thank you for that. I'm sorry. Mate, I'm sorry it couldn't be a week later so that you'd actually not have to wind the clock back 112 years. So good luck with the winding it forward on Sunday morning. But hey, it's great to have you here all the same. And we will actually get to catch up and have a drink in real person for a change instead of talking through Discord. So looking forward to that. Wish it were under better circumstances, though. Good on you, mate. Hey, JP, there's the schedule for you, ladies and gentlemen. What's on your screen there? Can we go back to the calendar just for a moment, folks? Because I want to just explore for a moment. I mean, if you think we've had some good racing so far, just have a look at the racing that's ahead there for you. I mean, some of these venues, most sports. So we go to Canada, we go to Europe with the Hockenheimring in Germany, Interlagos in Brazil. We go back to the USA with the Charlotte Roval. Interlagos is an enduro, by the way. There are two of those in this season, and the enduro in Brazil will be somewhere in the vicinity of 220 kilometers. because only 13 more gets you to a Formula One Grand Prix there in Brazil. So it'll actually be closer to 251. It's quite extraordinary that we, in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, in fact, get to do our first enduro of the season. And then the second leg of the Triple Crown a week after. Then we go super sprint racing at Donington Park in the UK. So what's that? First of 3 trips to Great Britain, because Silverstone backs it up. Then Road Atlanta, then Spa, then Brands Hatch. And then on the 8th of June, we go to Mount Panorama. We go for 41 laps. So about 2 hours of racing. Oh, mate, I cannot wait for that's going to be awesome. And it's going to be off the chart. Just quickly, looking back on all of this too. So far we've had the United States, we've had Australia, we've had Canada, all very well represented there. Still to come, Germany, Brazil, and also Belgium and Great Britain. So this championship visits 7 different countries in its 17-week run, and we are only just getting started. Rainer Costello, brilliant tonight, his second win of the season. And it wouldn't be possible without the great people at Nationwide Tracking Systems, Racecraft Simulations, and Blue Stampede Labour Hire. Also, hybrid racing simulations, TJM Parramatta, Dragon RC, and Abruzzi. Track Camps for Gourmet for setting up everything that you see as far as pictures from trackside is concerned. And the MHD Triple Crown naming rights sponsor is, of course, the Melbourne Hydrographics Depot. And we've got another 2 of them coming up for you as well. As far as SimShed Broadcasting goes, it rolls right throughout the week for you. Tuesday, Wednesday,
What a broadcast.
Tomorrow night, Goodyear. Auto Cabrera V8 T2E Series, 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time. We scratched that for next week. We're back to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time next week, so looking forward to that. Gentlemen Sim Racing Club, the Friday night doubleheader, the 2 up this week. Grand final week for the GSRC.
No,
bring this on. Freaky Friday, venue and car to be determined. Looking forward to seeing how all that plays out. And then, of course, the IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis 300 from the IMS, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Championships on the line, and a couple of ringings coming in to have some fun, because there are some scores to be settled on Good Friday. So it's going to be a good Friday for some, and a very good for others, and a very miserable one for a couple as well, I'm sure. But that's all part of the stick of the tail. That one will be coming to you live from the Sunshine Coast on Friday night. I'm heading out of Ipswich, provided that Anastasia Palaszczuk lets us out of home detention. Now we all know what it feels like to be Darren Hinch, don't we? It's lovely.
We're only missing.
Remember when he had his home detention? Yeah, I know.
We're only missing the ankle brace.
Yeah, don't worry. That'll be the next step. That'll be for Easter weekend. That's coming. They have not got a clue, this flaming mob. It's ridiculous.
I did do the right thing. I did get my Queensland login app, so whenever I go anywhere, I can log in for you guys up here.
Oh, you mean the check-in app that they took 6 months longer than New South Wales to get up and run? Yeah, fair dinkum. And they were patting themselves on the back for it. What a pack of morons. I hate to end on a political note, so let's just end on the note that we've had a great night here. SimShed Broadcasting continues for you across the week. Of course, the boys will be in the booth tomorrow night for Matt and I'm not sure if it's Aiden or someone else. Tomorrow night, Matt and JP, I'm told, for the broadcast of the T2 series race from this same venue, Sebring. We'll see you next Tuesday night for round 8 of the NTS series, right here on SimShed Broadcasting, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. I can't stress that enough. It's going to be it's going to be an hour earlier than what it was this week for those of you listening throughout or watching throughout the Eastern Seaboard, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, and the ACT, and also those of you listening or viewing throughout South Australia as well. So an hour earlier next week. Yeah, exactly. 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And the only narky thing about all of that is that they get the beautiful treat of 25 hours on Easter Sunday, and we're stuck with the measly 24. I'm a bit envious of that, but looking forward to it all the same. So 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, 5:30 Western. We will see you then. Rainer Costello, too good in the Sebring International 150. He got the job done by 8 seconds from Cameron Veacock and Sean McNamara. But by gee, there's still plenty to dissect out of the night that was. The chats will continue post-race, and I'm looking forward to that already. And we're going to get off air and say goodnight to all of you at 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time. See, we got there in the end. Look forward to your company next week. Until then, on behalf of Chris Kisby, JP, and the team, I'm Zach Caben saying thank you and goodbye for now.
Good night from him.